Go ahead.
All right, welcome everybody to the September 18th, 2020 California Board of Legal Specialization meeting. Hope everybody's okay. Hope it's not too smoky around everybody's parts. It's gotten cleared up a little bit most places, so like hopefully we keep that going. With that, I'd have Adrian call the roll.
Of course. Acosta?
Present.
Hammersmith? Christensen?
Here.
Lester?
Here.
Levy?
Here.
Torre?
Here.
And Vance?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. And as Adrian may have mentioned before, just kind of standard sort of Zoom practice. If you're not speaking, just make sure just click the mute button on your Zoom so we don't have any kind of like cross sounds. So with that, we would go to public comment. We'll be taking public comment today, as we always do during these open sessions, and that happens in the Zoom function for raising your hand. I would ask any members of the public to, if you have a comment or want to be heard, to use that function in the Zoom. That'll alert us that you're looking to make a comment. With that, I believe we may have a very interested member of the public here. And with that, I would call for a public comment.
We do have one, and I've just given them permission. Let's give it a second for that to come on. Hi, Jake. You should have accessibility to speak now. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, how are you? I lost the internet at home, so I'm not sure if I can show my face. I know Norma, we served together, and I'm going to be a new member as of next year, and I just want to swing by and say hello to everybody. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. Great. So, sorry, I have this very spotty cell connection.
I think he dropped up in.
We lost him. There he is.
That's about as
Okay, I'm
spotty
done.
as they get.
Okay, so I'm coming from the workers' comp, like a Norma, and I hope that I'll be a good asset to the state bar and the state. Thank you so much.
Standing. Thanks for chiming in, and welcome. Congratulations. Welcome to the board. Lucky for you, you won't have to be dealing with me, because this is my last meeting. So, but it's a wonderful group, and we're lucky to have you. So,
Indeed, welcome, and thanks for volunteering, Jake.
Thank you so much. I totally look forward to it, and this is like a dream position that I was just looking forward to, and somehow I made it. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jake. We really appreciate it.
And it looks like we don't have any further members of the public in attendance.
Okay. Okay, so that'll close our public comment section. And with that, we turn to the next section of our agenda, which are the staff reports. And the first part of that will be our staffing updates. And for that, we'd turn to Audrey.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we have some exciting news on the staffing front. We have a new program specialist. Her name is Anna Moreno. She's here with us virtually. She joins us with a degree in business management from Azusa Pacific University and lots of other great work experience and she's been with us for over 2 months now, and it's been amazing to have her on board. So welcome, Anna. Other good news, Adrienne has now been made permanent program supervisor for legal specialization. So congratulations to Adrienne.
Hey, congratulations, Adrienne.
For the past 6 months, he's been sort of interim program supervisor, and now he's been permanent since September 7th, so super exciting. So now that he's program supervisor, his program analyst position is temporarily being filled by Janelle, who's here on the call. She's in a training and development program for the program analyst position. Also, you might see here on our call, we have Patricia Salazar. In case you haven't met her before, she is doing a training and development program as well to be a program specialist with legal specialization. And she's been at the state bar for many years, working eligibility, but she's been with us working in legal specialization part-time still with her work with eligibility. So the team is looking really strong, and you'll see updates from everyone today, and lots of good news happening.
All right, thank you for that. Congratulations, Paul. Congratulations, Adrienne. So that making that permanent. That's a very exciting news. Very well deserved. So with that, speaking of Adrienne, we'll turn to the update on the 2020 CBLS work plan initiatives, and that will be from Adrienne.
Of course. So for the 2020 work plan that was approved by the CBLS at one of its 2020 earlier meetings, for the first objective, create a legal specialization working groups to provide recommendations to staff regarding certain research applications, and the final review of the legal specialist examination. We currently have working groups in all the areas, unfortunately, except for admiralty, franchise, and legal malpractice. However, we have already begun recruiting for exam developers. So we plan to utilize those exam developers in those other areas to also assist us in the file review as necessary for those specialty areas where we didn't already have an existing working group member. For the next objective, guidelines for evaluating proposals for expanding certification areas. At the March meeting, the CBLS approved an amendment to the standards for determining the creation of the new specialty. Since then, a couple of organizations have already requested and received those updated standards. For the next objective, evaluate the psychometrician's findings for a grading study. The psychometrician, he provided his final report in May. This will be provided to the CBLS in December meeting for review and discussion. At that time, the CBLS will be asked to make a decision on whether or not we can or should be using non-specialists as graders. And then for the next objective, I will actually go ahead and turn this to our new program specialist, Anna.
Okay, so on our case management system, I retrieved a report of both the resignations and revocations process for 2020. It seems that there's 103 attorneys who have been resignated and revocated. And so of these 103, 20 of them still have the legal specialist designation on their profiles, on their attorney websites and things like that. 28 of them do not have anything, and then 55 were undetermined. So these 55 were people who I didn't find any websites for, any attorney firm websites or anything like that. So of these 20, an email was sent out to them reminding them of the Professional Conduct Rule 7.4a, which provides that an attorney cannot state in a communication or solicitation that the attorney is a certified specialist unless the attorney is currently certified as a specialist. Several attorneys responded with apologies, and some will be contacting their website administrators to have it removed. I will be following up with these 20 attorneys in the coming weeks to allow them time to remove these designations from their communication materials. And I will be monitoring the resignations and revocation reports, and will be researching attorneys' communication materials and following up as needed.
Now, when we're talking about those who have had their certifications revoked or resigned, these 103, those are ones that have previously gone through our process to have their status terminated. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And does this include anybody that has been on the list that we've recognized was a mistake or whatever? Or these are from the past?
These are for 2020 only.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are all people who resigned on their own, or for the ones where they were revoked. We sent a 30-day notice by email and physical letter. No response was received.
Okay.
So then administratively, they were closed and revoked.
Okay.
Got it.
Of course.
Okay. And is it are we? I mean, because we've done this, we basically did this as a kind of like a quality check. I mean, and just a check on whether or not these folks are. Is this going to be? Was this contemplated to be a one-time thing, or are we intending to in the future do like a spot check after several months have passed for like a revocation or a resignation? Is this going to become standard practice?
No, I think the plan is to keep this as a standing item. So luckily with Ames, we're able to kind of filter and report out on when these revocations or resignations are processed. And then we'll just have to determine if we want to filter them out like by month, or if we want to give it 60 days before we actually re-follow up on it. But it is something that we will implement to be a regular ongoing task.
Okay. Okay, because I think at the very least having like spot checks on like some just kind of makes sense, and it would be interesting to see if the numbers go up or down as a percentage as we check on down the years. So, that makes sense. Thank you, Anna.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, with that, we would move on to an update on the legal specialist examination item banking solution. And on that item, we'd once again go to Adrian.
I apologize. This is actually also part of one of the work plan initiatives, but we kind of wanted to carve it out into its own item, just to give the CBLS a full update. Since the June meeting, we've actually already had scheduled demos with we had one with PSI. They demoed their item banking solution with us on September 3rd. Some background regarding PSI, they provide 15 million plus assessments delivered annually. They deliver assessment solutions for over 70 years. They have a test center network spanning 5 continents, which includes 100 plus countries. The other organization that we had a demo with was with Prometric. Regarding Prometric, they're a global testing services provider. Services include testing, design and structure, item development, test assembly, scoring, and reporting, item bank management, psychometrician services, and exam program management. So with Prometric, we actually had a demo regarding remote proctoring on September 2. But we do have an item banking solution specific demo scheduled for next week on the 23rd. And I actually also wanted to open this up to the CBLS to kind of see if anyone would be available and interested in attending that demo with us. The date and time is going to be specifically Wednesday the 23rd from 9:30 to 11. I'll go ahead and send an email reminder to everyone after this meeting, and then if you can, please feel free to let me know if you think you'll be able to attend that demo with us. And that's it.
And when's the demo, Adrian?
Wednesday, 9:23.
Unfortunately, I'm in an all-day mediation.
Wait, did you say fortunately? Unfortunately, sorry.
Unfortunately, otherwise I'd be there. Of course, I'm leaving on the 24th, so, you know.
Yeah. We don't need volunteers necessarily right this minute, but yeah, I'll send a reminder to everyone after this meeting. And then if you can, please feel free to let me know.
Okay. Well, thanks, Adrian. Last on this part of our agenda is just an update on recent developments. And with that, we go once again to Audrey.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on outside of legal specialization at the bar. One thing is we returned to our normal operations at the LA office and the San Francisco office, but obviously the majority of folks are still most days of the week working from home. We do have a variety of different COVID-19 protocols in place at both of our offices, and we've been following our healthy office plan for a few months now. So everything is full operations in terms of how the public can access our meetings, get in touch with us, even all our different hard copy mailings are still going in and out of the offices, but still the majority of folks most days of the week are working from home. So the July bar exam, I'm sure you've probably heard, was moved 1st of September, and now it's in a couple weeks, October 5th and 6th. So we are administering this remote bar exam on October 5th and 6th. About 10,400 people are taking the exam as of the last time I looked at our numbers. That could go up some because our final eligibility deadline is September 21st. 600 or so applicants with testing accommodations or extenuating circumstances where they don't have a good environment to take the test in their homes are coming to 6 hotel sites that we have. We have COVID-19 protocols in place for all those hotel sites. And unlike our usual in-person bar exams, there will be no large meeting rooms, no large convention rooms. All the applicants coming in person will be in individual hotel rooms for everyone's safety. And there's a variety of different procedures in terms of masking and temperature checks, as you can imagine. But the bulk of the applicants for the October bar exam will be taking the exam online. So there's been a lot of preparations for that right now. All the applicants are doing mock exams and practicing how the exam will look in a remote environment and trying to troubleshoot to make sure their laptops are ready for October 5th and 6th. Since we moved the bar exam to October, the baby bar, the first year law students exam that's normally in October, is moved to November 17th. That will be administered primarily remotely as well. And right now, because there's so much going on in the world of the State Bar and the Office of Admissions, we actually are having a meeting on provisional licensure today. So there were draft rules proposed, and public comment was due on our draft rules for provisional licensure, which is open to 2020 graduates. The public comment period ended on the 15th this week, and now the working group is going through the public comments as we speak. And those rules will be finalized and given to the Supreme Court, and they will be able to approve and make that a rule of court. And soon, those 2020 graduates who are interested in becoming provisionally licensed will be able to apply for that program. So they will be able to have a provisional license, not having passed the bar exam. Even if they fail the October bar exam, they can retain a provisional license where they're supervised by a supervising attorney, and that program is set to sunset on June 1st, 2022. Any questions? I covered a lot.
It's really impressive, by the way. I mean, I think I probably echo a lot of people's thoughts that like this is the adjustments that the bar has made. I mean, I think it's a lot like fixing a plane while it's in midair. You know, it's just like it's hard to do, and having these different different provisions and different accommodations for what has kind of shaken our world over the last about 6 months. I mean, is really impressive.
Yes, and we have a lot of empathy also for all the applicants who've had to change their mindset about the exam over time as well. So everyone is dealing with these changes as well as we can.
Yeah, the bar exam and the baby bar, those are stressful enough, you know, under the best of circumstances, right? So yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
No, I'm not hearing any.
Me.
So thank you very much, Audrey. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we go to the consent portion of our open session agenda, and we have one item on that, and that's the approval of our last meeting's minutes, the June 5th, 2020 minutes. And if everyone can just, it's in like there's a link to them in the general packet that was sent out and that is on the website. Does everybody have access to those? Can everybody see the minutes?
Yes.
I'm looking at them right now.
Okay, all right. Just give those a once over. If anybody has any issues or anything that does not seem to have been memorialized accurately or fully, just say so. And, I'm not seeing anything along those lines.
If you need it, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Mark moves. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded. All right. So we would still do the vote by roll. Yes, Adrian.
Please.
All right. Okay. All right. So Adrian will call the roll.
Acosta,
I wasn't present, so I don't know if I should abstain.
Yes, you should
abstain.
abstain.
Thank you. Hammerschmidt,
Approved.
Hershenson, approved. Lester,
Yay.
Levy,
Yes.
Torre,
Approved.
and Vance.
Yes.
Enough votes, the motion passes.
All right. Thank you. So with that, we move from the consent portion of the agenda onto the main business portion. And with that, we'd go to the first part, which is the meatiest part in terms of the materials that we have in front of us, which is a review of the report on the financial and operational key indicators. And for that, we'd once again turn to Audrey.
Exciting. Thank you. Back to me. So you have all the reports and attachments. So we're looking at the budget, which was attachment A. The 2020 Q1 report, as reviewed by the Board of Trustees, is provided to you for review. You'll see there's a 0.1% revenue decrease when compared to 2019, but we're currently at a positive net change of $1,771,909. That's kind of the high-level overview there. So we're moving to attachment B, unless there's any questions.
Just real quick, I mean, I saw that we're at a net change of $1.7 million to the good, right? So I was just thinking, is there going to be kind of like sort of a longitudinal, or is there any like thought to like having kind of a longitudinal kind of look at, you know, because we have been doing pretty well financially as a program, you know, looking at like if that continues on this year, the following year, would there be a thought of maybe looking at the fee structure, you know, looking at different things that the program might end up doing, because again, it's a good problem to have, that the program is netting out positive. But is there any thought to, if it nets out positive and continues to do so in the future, what we might want to do in terms of recalibrating the fees we take in?
We haven't had any of those conversations yet. but I think it's logical to look at all those kinds of fee structures over time and to see where those are with across the Office of Admissions. I mean, we're the same thing with administrating the bar exam, or, you know, as we make changes and trying to figure out what the best fee structure is over time. And I'm sure, I mean, maybe Adrian has more history than I do, but we haven't had those conversations yet, but I think it's a logical idea to have that kind of review.
Well, and I thought this was a financial review of the bar as a whole. Is it with regard to our program or the bar as a whole?
The report is the bar as a whole, but I think we were only pointing out the parts that pertain to the legal specialization program only.
Okay.
But in regards to Aurelio's comment, I think that at the least we may be looking at potentially another spend down of the reserve, because the state bar does have a reserve policy. I don't know if members remember from 2017 when we implemented a annual fee waiver. There was reduced exam costs that year as well. I think there were a couple other initiatives that were implemented as well. But I do think that at the very least, that may be something to consider or will be coming up for discussion. But to permanently reduce those fees, that's definitely something that we can look at and perhaps agendize for maybe approval or something.
And I just want to make sure I wasn't suggesting anything in particular, especially since we're in the middle of a lot of changes. Like we're going to like we're looking at the banking solutions and all of those different things. So frankly, that might, you know, end up, you know, bumping the numbers one way or another. Like we're in the middle of a lot of things and stuff. I just wanted to just it's more of an aside that, like, if that's going to become kind of like consistent, you know, like a consistent kind of net positive, like what that might go to in the future.
Well, and to me, the piece that is not clearly stated within these financials, and I'm concerned with, is the payback to the board of the $1 million that was borrowed from legal specialization. And there is a change in the budget, and I see is only $25,000 that's going back. And I don't know where we stand in terms of the total payoff. I thought it was $100,000 a year over 10 years that was the payback. And it looks like only $25,000 is being allocated this year. So is somebody monitoring that to make sure that the Board of Legal Specialization is getting all of its money back as promised?
I'd have to look at that page specifically that you're referring to. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
these
I'm looking
Q1
at
reports are
page-
kind of high level.
Attachment A, page 3, you have the transfers out to legal specialization fund. And so there's a change of 25,000, but doesn't tell us what the balance is that's owed and what the payments have been. And I fought hard to get that disclosure on the financials as it is. So I'd like to make sure that we are able to track that.
I'll make a note of that and to see if we'll be able to kind of pull those specifics and provide them at the next meeting. But I'll definitely make note of them. Mark. Thanks.
Thanks. I think Roy's frozen, and there he goes.
Uh-oh. All right. If okay, can we can go to the oh, actually, I'm sorry, this is still Audrey, but
Yes.
then we can rely on Rob too once again if Roy's not able to get back.
What's that, Adrian? You want me to continue?
Yes, please.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're moving on to looking at attachment B about our specialist numbers. So our total number of specialists, the aggregate has increased from a year ago, but we're over 563 in the aggregate sense. Estate and workers' compensation, those areas saw the largest increase, 50 total between those two areas. And then admiralty and taxation saw the largest decreases. Each of those lost 5 specialists. Any questions there with the total number of specialists? Okay, we can move on to talking about resignations. So we had 97 resignations in the first 8 months of 2020. About half of those, 47, were due to retirement. And so based on forecasting based on the current pattern, the expected total for 2020 should be comparable to those totals in 2019 and 2018, where we had 160 and 158 resignations, respectively. All right, moving on to legal specialization and education compliance. 1,949 specialists were in Group 3 when reporting opened. The Group 3 compliance reporting period ended February 1st. At the March meeting, you'll remember that we approved an extension to June 30 and then subsequently allowing further extensions to kind of follow the extensions that the general MCLE was granted. So since then, the State Bar has approved the extension of MCLE overall reporting to 9/30 due to COVID-19. So we will follow those extensions.
So if I'm tracking correctly, we are now in, we're at page, what, 38 of attachment A? Are we looking at the lit? Is that where we're at?
And we're at attachment D.
Not yet.
We're on attachment, yeah, legal specialization education compliance.
The failure, is this the failure to recertify? No, is this education the next group?
No, we're still on the review of report of financial and operational key indicators.
Oh, got it. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. It's just one of the other key indicators. So as of September 1st, 28% were still pending their compliance.
How does that number compare to past years?
It's high. We will be providing a recommendation for annual revocation for the people in non-compliance discussed in its own item for open item 4F. But we do have a couple of those statistics, but it's definitely high this year.
Right. Yeah, I think we'll talk more about that, yeah, a little later.
Yeah, more to come on that issue. But that's all from me on the key indicators.
All right. Thank you. There's a whole lot there. Now, after that, we'll move on to the review of the report on initial certification applications. With that, we turn to Adrian.
Sure. So for this item, a little background. In order to receive certification, applicants must first take and pass the legal specialist examination in the desired specialty area. Only then are they actually eligible to submit their post-exam application for initial certification. Those who passed the 2017 exam, they have until January 2021 to file that application. There were 704 passers. 75% of them, 75.3% have already filed their application. Of those remaining candidates, 22 have not yet received an extension. And then the specific numbers are included on attachment A for 2017. And then if we look for the 2019 exam, that's attachment B. Those who passed the 2019 legal specialist examination, they will have until April 2021 to submit their application or request an extension. There were 382 passers, 42% have already filed their application, and of the remaining, 6 have already received extensions through January 2023. The most common reason for an extension is to reach the 5-year practice requirement. And then also, just as a quick reminder, at your guys' June meeting, the CBLS approved a 3-month extension for applicants to submit their applications as well.
Right. And I think that as with the MCLE things, but this actually may be more of an acute sort of issue. There may be a lot of people, in addition to like not having the actual 5 years, a lot of the practice requirements might be a little hard to come by in COVID. Like a lot of the specialties that require, certain court hearings and that sort of thing. I mean, there's going to be a lot of folks that I would imagine are going to be asking for extensions just based on, obvious kind of logistical difficulties and practice difficulties. So,
and I know we don't approve these anymore. At some point along the way, is the board ever advised of those who have completed that process? Just kind of an overview so we know how that's going.
I think we would be able to provide you with the list that's already been approved. But prior to that actual approval, we are utilizing the subject matter experts from those working groups to kind of assist and assess those applications and provide a more in-depth look. So.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that, on the initial certifications? All right. Turning to the opposite side of the ledger of initial certifications, we'll turn to the topic of the potential approval of certification revocation. First, for the failure to recertify, and with that, we turn to Adrian.
So specialists are required to report compliance of the ongoing task and experience requirements and reference requirements by recertifying every 5 years. Reminders are automatically sent through AIMS, through the AIMS email system. Reminders are sent 6 months prior, 60 days prior, 30 days prior, and then 7 days after certification term ends. But staff also now manually sends a 30-day late reminder, and this one goes through the State Bar email service. At its June meeting, the CBLS motion for this standing item was lost, so no certifications were revoked at that time. But for this meeting, they were essentially pushed to this meeting and including additional. So we have 79 specialists that are pending recertification through May 31. This would be consistent with past action to send a final notice. That notice will be sent via email, and we'll send a paper letter. And then if there's no response to that 30 days, they would be administratively closed and revoked.
Okay. Oh, one question. Wait, I'm sorry, Mark. One question I would have, just a housekeeping question, is because the agenda item says staff request permission to send the final notice. All of these things. Can we make this final notice like a hard copy and email? Can we make this standard practice? I mean, I don't necessarily think that staff should have to come to the CBLS to ask, like, to send the final, like the final you know, notification. You know, maybe that can be agendized for another meeting, or since that's not agendized now, but.
I think so. I don't know if maybe, Ken, if you had any thoughts on this. The reason it does go to the CBLS is because the revocations and denials are set by the board and determined by the board.
Right.
Versus us.
Well, no, I know that we have to tell you, we have to vote to terminate, to actually revoke after these notices are sent and not responded to. I know we have to take that vote. It's just that I don't know in particular why we should we should have to give the staff the permission to send out those notices before that. That's the only the only thing that I don't.
Yeah, and in other committees, other contexts, I don't think similar things don't generally require specific approval just to send a notice after a final decision. Right. So I think that's something that we can definitely address.
Okay. I think it's appropriate to talk in this term. Maybe we'll adjust our process to send those notices internally with staff, and then if no response is received, that list will then go to the CBLS for your final approval. Is that
right? Right, because right now we're basically provisionally we're asked to provisionally approve revocations, and that seems, I mean, it seems that it should it seems that that's not like the most efficient, or probably like the most, like, because when we have a list of like people that have not responded to the final notice after all of these other notices, I mean, that would seem the most efficient way of doing it. But
got it.
Yeah, so after we go through that process, then specifically with the list of the attorneys that are at pages 40 and 41 of the materials. So that's going to be the first group who have not recertified. Just so you know, the bar number and the name on everybody on that list does not match on the list that's been presented to us. Somewhere those names are on there. They seem to have been, folks that were on that list, but their bar number does not match the name as it's been presented to us. That's hiccup one. Hiccup two is I've reached out this week to each one of the folks on the estate planning side, for example, and I copied Adrian on my communications. And in some instances, they had not received, or they claim they haven't received any communications from the State Bar with respect to their failure to comply. And virtually all of them have, in the interim, responded and taken care of this. So I'm concerned with whatever method we're using to reach out to our specialists as to whether or not that is in fact successful.
And I would just echo that. I found out just last week that I was on the list of failure to provide my specialization CLE credit. That was the first notification that I've received was last week. So I don't think that this email system is really reaching people in the way that it was intended. And I think we need to take a look at that.
Yeah, I agree. I saw the communications, Mark, and the responses, and that is a little bit, concerning. We had kind of that gut, and Mark, I appreciate the effort that you took this last week, to reach out to them, but it does scare me a little bit that people are missing out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the system through AIMS, they are automatic emails, so it's not monitored for in terms of confirmation of receipt. We have asked specialists to kind of add the email that it's coming from to a safe senders list. Although we can't really be sure, because then it seems to be that it's the recipient's kind of like filter or spam or whatever system it is. But our notices do go out, but we may have to stress once again that they add us to like a safe senders list. And as well, that's why we also use the State Bar's email system kind of as that last reminder.
Right. Well, and it is the specialist's obligation. I mean, they're supposed to be on top of what their requirements are and that they've met all that. I recognize that, but when our fallback is supposedly that we're reaching out to them, I become concerned that we're successfully accomplishing that fallback.
Right, and we're having a chicken and egg issue, right? In terms of like telling them to make the address the safe sender. It's like, well, if they don't get the communication, that's right. No, and I get it. I mean, I don't know exactly how to do that as the bar, but like that's the thing, they have to get that first message, right? And that's that seems to be like a critical issue. And like Mark, I mean, I think Mark, what Mark's done is given us a pretty good just kind of sample of just various folks that are just kind of like, this is a bolt out of the blue for them. I echo what Mark said, what Rob said, what Natalie was saying, that like, I mean, I get taken aback a bit by having a lot of like sometimes long time specialists going like, whoa, what's the deal? And like they jump, the second they're told, they jump on it and they fix it because they obviously want to keep their specialization.
Well, and I think that part of our role is to keep certified specialists in the specialty area, right? I mean, we're looking at numbers of who's dropping out and how many people we're bringing in. And we want to have the experts in this area part of the specialty. We don't want to lose people. And so we don't want, we want to encourage that compliance. And, the reach out has to be effective. If it's not, we risk losing some valuable members of the specialty. And I don't think that's what the intent of this is. The intent is to give the notification at the compliance, not to revoke specializations. So given that this has not been very effective, from what we can tell, I think we need to look at perhaps instead of the email system that's being utilized for the initial notices to use the things that are effective. So what is effective? Mailing seems to be effective, and using the state bar email directly seems to be effective. And so perhaps for the next meeting, we can put something on the agenda to look at new ways of doing this outreach for people who are behind.
Right. Right. And I mean, it would be super labor intensive to suggest this, but I would say as a last to start calling people, just to reach out to their current, contact information. And that's obviously that's not nearly as efficient, but yeah, I think Natalie's right. Like one of the things we're always trying to do kind of like PR to try to get people to become specialists, but I mean, to cultivate the current, population of specialists is massive. And even though it is their responsibility to kind of keep up on these things, but when so many are having problems like this, I think we really need to reach out in a different way.
Well, and when I see names that are on these various lists of people that I know who advertise themselves as specialists, who go out and present on programs, especially in estate planning, the Ken Wolfs, the Alan Wattenmakers, these are people who are known throughout the community as specialists in estate planning. I know they would do nothing to put that certification at risk, yet somehow they've reached this list, and supposedly we've sent them numerous communications and they're ignoring them. So somehow I believe that's not in fact the case, that they've been reached.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think calling's a good idea, and maybe we could have the members that are like, I'm a criminal law specialist. I'd be happy to call any criminal law specialists that don't respond and divide up some of the other ones with other people to make sure everybody gets a call before they get terminated or revoked.
So I would echo everyone's comments on the family law list. There appears to be at least 4 pages. So maybe 100 or even more people that are in risk of getting their specialty revoked. And again, some of these people, they give talks, seminars all over the state to other specialists. I can't imagine that these people would want their specialty to go away. So I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I think calling 100 or more, just family law would be a big task for any person or persons. But I don't know what the solution is.
If okay, I think if we do implement this change to the process where staff would be able to send that final notice prior to anything coming to the CBLS, and we would send that final notice once again through the State Bar's email server, but also include a paper notification. I believe that'll, I guess, improve the rate to which that they're receiving it, as well as lessening the number of names that would actually finally come to the CBLS for the actual revocation.
Right, but I think what everybody's concern seems to be is that there should be another level of outreach before the axe drops. Because I mean, this in general, what we have, I mean, and this is, I mean, maybe I'm overgeneralizing here. The population of specialists is not of the type of attorney that's going to blow off a notice from the State Bar, right? I think we can just kind of presume that most of these folks are going to, even if it's just for just to confirm, look, yeah, I don't want my specialty anymore. I'm winding down my practice for whatever reason. So when we have pages and pages of folks that It's just, they're just not, I mean, these are folks that jumped through all these hoops that like maintain their specialization and stuff. It's like, I would presume that the people I'm looking at are people that don't realize how close they are to being revoked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's just, and I think that's a pretty safe assumption for probably 90% of these names. And I don't know if other folks agree with me, but.
Yeah, I have a question. So are most of the notifications going out just by email? Or is it a mix between US mail and email?
Since 2019, when we launched AIMS, everything moved to electronic.
Okay. And so did you see a correlation between that change and the increase in the number of folks ending up on this list?
That's definitely something we can look at. I personally haven't looked into that specifically.
Okay.
But
I'm just.
Well, and all I do is anecdotally from when Roy and I came on and we were looking at these lists to now, these lists seem to have grown.
Right. They just seem a little bigger. I mean, that's kind of anecdotal evidence, but it's pretty good anecdotal evidence.
Of course. I think and it definitely seems like it's going this way. The board, you can vote to, or I guess deny this motion, similar to what we did in June, and then administratively, we'll implement this process where we're sending this final notice on our own, but we'll also include this batch, and then bring those names for final at the CBLS's next meeting.
Right, and right now we're still on the first portion. I just want to make sure, because I think we might be bouncing around in the agenda, the materials that folks might be looking at. We're looking at the first part of the certification revocation, the potential certification revocations, which is the failure to recertify portion. Though right. I'm just anticipating that we'd have similar issues with the other.
Right, and that's the problem is to that list, every bar number fails to match the actual name of the attorney.
Yeah, that first one, the failure to recertify one.
Correct. That list is the one where we fail to have that matching.
Okay.
And is that coming out of AIMS?
It's been manipulated a little bit. It may have been jumbled, but
okay.
Yeah, I did check. The names on that list only are the ones that don't match the bar number.
So
right.
I mean, I'm just getting the kind of the pulse of the group. Is that, I mean, we're going to vote on this agenda item, and it's similar to the agenda items that are coming up, and that vote is whether or not to approve the revocations that are in front of us. And just my general sense is that other people like me may be hesitant to do so. We could also, this is also something, I mean, I don't know if we want to do it or we can do it from a kind of parliamentary procedure sort of way. If we can actually like ask to have something agendized for the next meeting in terms of like addressing some of the concerns that we just brought up. But right now, I would ask folks to, I think we've discussed this first item fairly in detail, and I would, do I have a motion to vote on, to move to vote on the revocations on item C, on the revocations for failure to reserve?
I'll move to vote on item C.
Is the motion that we deny, that we reject the recommendation of staff?
An aye vote on this motion, and Adrian can correct me if I'm wrong, an aye vote on this motion would be to revoke certification to these people, to the folks listed.
Thank you.
Yes. So so an aye vote would be to revoke, and a nay vote would be not to revoke.
Understood.
All right. So Adrian, could we call the roll?
I don't think it's been seconded.
Yeah.
I thought I seconded it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Maybe I didn't. I don't know.
Acosta,
Nay.
Hammerschmidt,
Nay.
Christensen,
Nay.
Lester,
Nay.
Levy,
Nay.
oh, thank you. Torre,
Nay.
and Vance.
Nay.
Thank you. The motion is lost.
All right. Okay. So that motion fails. We would then move on to the next potential revocations, the approval to deny certifications for failure to comply with a material requirement of the legal specialization rules or any other relevant standard. And with that, we once again turn to Adrian.
Of course. So for this item, when applications for initial certification or recertification are received and brought to a complete status, staff categorizes and flags those applications. Applications are then presented to the subject matter experts in those specialty areas for their review. Based on their feedback, staff provide the included recommendations to deny their applications under Rule 3.120. And then the table included on the item lists those specific specialists and which subsection of that rule for the reason being their denial. Similar to the last item, staff requests permission to send a final notice once again via email and by letter, informing them that they have not established that they meet the requirements for certification. Their applications will be closed, and if they are an applicant for recertification, the certificate of specialization would be revoked. And then maybe it's just also worth noting that under Rule 3.122, they can request an informal conference to provide additional information and essentially appeal the decision.
Okay. This is obviously a much smaller group.
Yes.
Now, for this group, has there been, because I know that there's been like additional kind of like review of the file and review with like, so has there been additional outreach on this group, like in this group of possible revocations, like a phone call or something along those lines, or has it just been along the lines of what we have for like the standard revocations?
For this group, there hasn't been any notification to I guess give them a heads up that we are planning to deny. We've just received the recommendation and the notes from those that reviewed, and based on those notes, we would let the applicants know that they are going to be denied.
Now, I looked at this list of folks as well, and in at least one instance, as I note, C is there's pending disciplinary charges as the ground for not granting the recertification. I can't remember which one of these two, but I didn't see that on the State Bar website that there was reference to that, and I would have thought that that would be there. Is that the case, or would there be something on these pending charges that might not appear on the State Bar website?
I don't know, Ken, if you're able to speak on this. I'm not sure about which type of charges, when in their court process it actually needs to be reported. But
yeah, it does depend on the specifics and where it is in the process. whether the filing has been made, that will sort of initiate the public proceedings for it to go up on the website. So I don't know anything about the particulars here.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I'm joining late. I'm coming in from another meeting. Hello.
Hey, Amy.
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 But these have all been then reviewed by like a working group prior to their submission here for this motion. Is that right?
Working group. I think for maybe one or two of them, we actually also even consulted our general counsel on. But yeah, they've all been reviewed by at least a subject matter expert.
Okay.
I'm not as concerned with this list as I was with the others because they were so mass. I think this is a much more refined, specific list. So I got to believe communications, which were much more effective here on this one.
You know, I'm walking into this a little late, but it sounds like there was a discussion related to the communication and the potential of contacts coming from the state bar and going into people's spam folder or whatever the case might be. Is that that conversation happened, right? And the concern with the denial process impacting, being impacted by the fact that things could be going into spam or junk folders, right?
Yeah.
Correct. That was the last group.
Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to say is that this is a universal concern. It happened to us with the bar exam documents that were going out. So for example, people registering for the bar exam needed to return for example, acceptance of testing documents, of the testing conditions. These documents had to be returned to us by a specific time. And people's not checking their spam box or email box is just something that we cannot control. But maybe one of the suggestions is, trying to use more of, I don't know, like a Lyris blast or using our website, encouraging people to check their junk mail and spam folders more often. It's definitely outside of our control. And then, the alternative is going back to the, mailing, a physical mailing, like maybe one of the notices, because there are various ones, and going back to one of our notices and making those a hard, snail mail, using post office mail as that part of the process, just as an alternative, because it's a universal experience. And also the security systems are getting so much better that it's not something that's going to go away. I mean, the spam folder is a security measure that a lot of, organizations, because sometimes it's an organization blocking our organization or whatever the case might be, and that's why it ends up there. That's not going to go away anytime soon. I mean, people are getting more secure, especially with electronic communication. So with that, I just want to offer the option of perhaps making one of those contact attempts a snail mail format, if that will address it. So I just want to put that out there, and I'm sorry if I'm coming in a little late on this, but yeah, just want to put that proposal out.
That's fine. In fact, I think that, like, you touch on a good point. Like, maybe on the website, maybe there could be kind of like in very eye-catching sort of form, an admonition, basically. It's like, look, like, these are like all communications from this program about your certification and about your specialty will be via email from, perhaps we can list the email address that it would be coming from, along those lines. Because I get it. Like, well, look, we're now stuck in this strange spot where, like, we're suspecting, and I think correctly suspecting, that a lot of people aren't getting these communications, but it is on them ultimately. I mean, this is their specialty. They're supposed to, like, look out for the requirements. So we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And but I completely understand what Amy's saying, because we're going to be communicating just basically almost exclusively via email for, like, the vast majority of these things from the bar. But I think that there should be a warning. I think that people should be like, there should be like a more eye-grabbing sort of thing. It's like, hey, look, all communications are going to be through email, and please, make sure. And if you have, and maybe even saying like, it is your responsibility to, to maintain your certification and maintain your the requirements for your certification, including the CLE requirement, something like that. Because right now, like the site is like relatively anodyne.
Even more to the point, for the state bar as a whole, they're using electronic communications. So every attorney is supposed to, make sure that you can communicate with the bar and that they can communicate with you. So
the reality, though, is that you have to receive an email in order to unblock it and make sure that future emails get through. And so if you never receive any email communication in the first instance, you have no way of even knowing that anyone's trying to communicate with you. And then, we're not at the next agenda item yet, but when I look at it, the failure to pay the specialty fee, this is likely a clerical error made by the office. I know in my specialty, 7 of the 9 lawyers are with the same firm. And so they have somebody who's at the firm who's in charge of paying state bar dues for all the lawyers and didn't realize that they also had to pay the specialty fee. And if no one, I guarantee you, no one's gotten the notification or they would have paid it. And these are, very esteemed specialists in the field that we would be at a loss in our specialty area if we lost them as specialists because of this clerical error. I think it's critical that we have outreach that's effective, that actually gets to the person before we remove them as specialists, because it hurts our specialty when we're removing people for these errors that can be very readily addressed and fixed.
Yeah, and those are great points. And I think this is a group to offer those suggestions of what ideas what ideas are available to us. So we've talked about the website. I threw snail mail out there, but other considerations. Do we need to actually, call people? Is another option. So anyway, I really appreciate this input. So thank you so much.
Well, and maybe if I can offer something that's even faster than a telephone conversation. I seem to have had excellent success in reaching every one of the estate planning folks by an email from my office to them directly. I don't get caught up in the spam. And so if there is a text of an email that the bar can send to me that I can just cut and paste into these emails, I can reach very effectively and quickly 25, even 100 people at maybe an hour's time invested at my point to make that happen and effectively get there. So,
but Mark, is it? I don't know if you're offering to do this for people outside of estate planning, but as well. But are you suggesting that you would do it for estate planning? It seems like a nice short-term solution, but how sustainable is that? Right, that you're a point of contact.
I got it, but maybe if we divide this up into groups, there's 7 of us on the commission right now, right? Mm-hmm. So, and if you guys can prepare the email, but it comes from us, and we dedicate an hour of time to cut and paste, but send an email. I don't know if it's a permanent solution, but at least it was effective for me and the people that I reached out to. And I did, if I knew a family law person, I reached out to them. So, I know a lot of the estate planning folk, and so I have tried to reach out to almost all of them.
Okay. I think whatever process we want, we should probably, somebody would probably need to make a motion. I don't mean to just jump in here in this item because it sounds like it's impacting a previous item and one that's coming up on the agenda. So, Roy, I leave it up to you how you'd like to handle this.
Well, I think that what we have now, what we have agendized are a series of votes to approve the revocation of these certifications or to deny certifications. So it strikes me as we would probably want to, if we were going to have these outreach efforts, that obviously suggests that we would not be revoking these folks based on these agenda items. So what I think we would do is we would go on the agenda as we were doing. We would vote on whether to revoke, and what we could do is we could, you know, agendize for a future meeting a further review of these based on any outreach efforts that we talk about and discuss and coordinate with Adrian and the program, including like maybe a potential, maybe a generic message that could be sent to a wide swath of folks from various members of the commission saying, hey, by the way, your certification is about to be revoked. We could probably, I would imagine we could probably send the same message to everyone regardless of what the specific grounds is. It's like, hey, by the way, and check with the bar because you're about to, you know, your specialist head is on the chopping block. And you know, it wouldn't have to be even particularly personalized even to the reason why their certification is being revoked.
Correct. And Amy, what you missed was we voted no on the prior motion with respect to that first group. Now we're coming to a second group just to get you up to speed.
Okay, great. So then, and then the previous denial then of proceeding with those denials, was the attempt also, was there another communication attempt built into that proposal as well?
I understood we just had the motion before us and we just voted that motion down.
Okay, because you could always modify the motion, and within that motion, what we could do, or within this context, is I just want to put it on the table that you have this ability that you could, direct State Bar staff to put it on the website and to offer, you know, the different lists with the generic email if the committee chooses to, or this board chooses to share those contacts, you know, and send out the personal emails from each of you. So I just want to put it out there that that is an option for us, for you to direct us to do that.
Okay, now would that be, but that would be, I wasn't under the impression that we necessarily needed to like approve that as a board. That if we were denying these, if we were denying what's in front of us right now, which is like certify like that these people are being revoked.
Mm-hmm.
If we deny that, and like essentially these items are moved to a later meeting,
mm-hmm.
we would be, you know, we would be doing that based on the fact that there's going to be further outreach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not we have to actually delineate that further outreach and vote on it today, that's what I'm a bit in the dark on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, you know, part of this discussion and is does a group is a group agreeable to, for example, what Mark has suggested, that is, share a common list of names that would be sent out by by all members here to give people the heads up via email, as well as perhaps putting it on our website. So if that is the case, this is just a more formal process of noting and directing us, and then we would report back on that process at the next meeting. So basically, putting it in a motion is just a more formalized way of communicating and directing us to do this.
Okay. I mean, I think we can do that. I mean, I think we can do that. We're kind of crafting it on the fly,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. But I think it would have multiple parts. It would have us and please somebody chime in if I'm missing something. It would have us directing the board to first put a conspicuous notice on our website that people are to. That communications will be coming from a certain, and you can put the address, and that please check for electronic correspondence, because that is the exclusive means by which the state bar will try to contact you as to your specialization, and it is your responsibility to keep up that specialization and your requirements. That would be on the book. Second, to provide the board with a generic message giving the contact information as to who someone would contact at the, for the purposes of, clarifying their specialization status and for curing any potential problems that are leaving them on the brink of revocation. And I don't know, what do we got after that?
Well, then I guess we would divide it up so that they're not getting 7 different emails, but if there's a generic email coming from us, that the 7 of us would divide up that list and send out that email to our portion to assist the state bar. Because I think if there's an email coming from us, it seems to not get caught up in spam and we have a more successful communication.
Right.
I just emailed one of the lawyers from that firm while we were having this discussion and got the email back. They never got any notification. They're going to take care of it today. The problem with the email spam filters is they often, it doesn't go to a junk folder. It never gets past the server at the law firm. And so no one is aware that it ever even, there was even an attempt at communication. And we just can't risk losing good specialists because of clerical errors on their part when, there are ways to reach them and they will take care of it right away.
What address is it coming from? Because they're like from Ames, just curious.
It's legal.specialization at calbar.ca or at calbar.ca.gov.
So it's at calbar.ca.gov and it's
Correct.
legal.specialization.
Correct.
Yeah, there's so many variables when it comes to the spam filters. If it's a small office and it's 1 or 2 attorneys that are using Gmail as their email provider versus Microsoft, and how they're configuring it versus a large firm. So it is a very difficult thing to manage in terms of how to guarantee it getting through. Adrian or anybody, can you remind me, is there a place, within Ames where I can where one can log in and they can actually see, what's missing, what their status is? Okay, because I haven't been in, obviously, as an attorney, because.
Yeah, so that wasn't previously readily available to specialists, but now, yes, with Ames, specialists can log in. They can see if they owe the legal specialization due specifically, if they submitted their legal specialization compliance, if and when they're due to be certified. All that information is available online now.
So for discussion, and if everybody's, anyway, for discussion would be, maybe what we want to recommend is when people are coming up for their recertification, whether it's a year out, that we actually do a mailing that reminds them that, hey, you can go and log into Ames and see where you are, B, telling them about a spam filter that they can perhaps configure, but then also that they're on the list for coming up in the next year. And we do this for the next 5 years, we'll cover off on all the legal specialists when it comes up.
I think it would be great to do a mailing before certification to let them know that it's due.
We will, yeah. So we'll definitely add that step to our processes where we are going to be sending, in addition to that 30-day after using the State Bar's email service, we'll add another one. Maybe let's just say 30 days after that, which will be once again through the State Bar's email servers and also a physical mailing.
Is there any print communication that comes out from the State Bar regularly? That's not not electronic communication that comes out, whether it's a pamphlet or a booklet or a magazine that we can actually have some space in that reminds people, hey, here's Ames, here's how you check your stuff?
Most of that moved over to the Lawyers Association for those communications.
Yeah. We did add this information to the new specialist information like a welcome letter. I'm making notes. I'm definitely thinking that we'll add it to our frequently asked questions. We'll add it to our research approval letters. We'll add it to the education approval letters. There's definitely a lot of like templates that we can add this information to.
I think that when on a welcome letter, it's great, but 5 years is a long time for people to remember. I don't remember when my annual subscriptions are coming up on my credit card and then get pissed off when I get charged. So I can only imagine 5 years out what I've got to try to remember.
Yeah, and we'll definitely look at other. I don't necessarily know if this is outreach, but other, I guess, opportunities to provide that information to the specialists.
So now, do we have we the things that I discussed before? Do we have anything to add, anybody, to the specific directions that we're giving the board as to
giving the board or giving staff?
Oh, I'm sorry, we're the board. So, look at that. Giving staff, and in terms of I think one of the things is a formulation of basically like a generic message that includes several things. That includes that your specialization, your legal specialization, is for one of the following reasons, and we can put failure to recertify, failure to to certify your legal specialty, your continuing legal education, that sort of stuff. We can put all of them right there. For one of the following reasons, your specialization is currently pending potential revocation. That this is if this revocation is not, if you intend to maintain your specialization, please contact X, Y, Z. I mean, I don't think this can be Hemingway, not Joyce. Like, this doesn't have to be like a particularly long sort of message here, right? Those would be the things that I discussed before, and formulating that message for dissemination to the people on these lists would be the main thing we would want done. Anybody else? Is there anything that I missed?
That sounds good to me.
Okay. So what I believe we're going to be doing a two-part thing. We're going to be moving. We're going to take two votes. We're going to take one vote on what was originally agendized, and we're now onto the material requirement, failure to comply with the material requirement. We're at D. We're at section D of this business item. So I think the first thing we would do is take a vote on this item, to a vote on whether or not to approve these revocations. So a yay vote would be to revoke these people's specialties. Okay. So I would move to vote on this item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Good.
All right, Adrian, could you call the roll?
Acosta,
Aye.
Hammersmith,
Nay.
Hershenson,
Nay.
Lester,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Torre,
Aye.
Vance.
I'm not clear what we're voting on. Sorry.
This is item D, the denial for those 6 that are listed on that table on page.
Yes, aye. Thank you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's enough votes. The motion passes.
Okay. And what we're also voting on is now we move on approving the steps that we discussed, that Adrian could maybe, could someone read that back? I sure as heck wasn't writing that down. I don't know if
and you were so articulate too.
I wrote down a lot. I may have missed them, or I may have added some things on my own.
Okay.
But I guess it was that the CBLS directs staff to provide additional information on the State Bar website. I included the legal specialization FAQs, that all notifications regarding the legal specialization program are sent electronically. They will be coming from our email, which we will provide. And then we would also include a reminder that although those notifications do go out, it is the obligation of the specialist to meet them. And we'll also include information on how to maintain their certification, and then a notice that you may be pending revocation for the following reason. We'll state that specific reason. And then if you intend to keep your certification, please contact one of us.
Okay, now that message, that last part, the message that is going to be formulated by staff,
Yeah.
that is for the purposes of
a draft email template. I apologize.
A draft email template, right? A draft email template that will be provided to the board, such that the board can do its own outreach through the individual board members' email addresses. Is that jiving with what everybody kind of thought we would do?
That was the proposal, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Yes, to clarify, it's a communication plan with two different approaches. One is using our website, and the other is using the board members to conduct some outreach that staff will support.
Right.
And also a mailing earlier in the process. We talked about a mailing that would go out prior to the recertification coming up to notify the specialists that it's time to recertify. And then when we're doing the revocation process, another mailing somewhere in the process before the final revocation notification.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I think one of the things in the template, in the draft email template, to save our own inboxes from inundation with people that respond, right, would be a direction near the end. It's like please contact. I mean, it would involve directing to please contact State Bar staff directly. It's like, look, like the person that's going to be sending out the email. It's like, I cannot essentially be your clearinghouse for figuring out this issue. You need to contact the State Bar directly. So.
Let me try this.
And Adrian, I will offer that if staff wants to take a stab at that generic email, I'll take a look at it and help with the editing process.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would be fine with Mark having dictatorial power as to the final language of that. Like
I second that motion.
I mean, it's like I think we're in pretty good hands there. So okay. Oh, thank you for putting this up so we can actually know what we're voting on.
Did I get this all right?
Yeah, I think that the first bullet should probably go after the second bullet point there. But the first thing is like you're pending revocation for one of the following reasons. You better get on that, and if you want to get on that, please contact. But that's specifics about the actual like template. I mean, I don't think that we need to.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to like bang our heads against the wall too much on that, on the actual specifics. And I believe the notification would be the second part, and all notifications regarding the legal specialization program, and it is your responsibility to maintain your specialization. Is your responsibility, and please, and remember that is your responsibility to keep abreast of all the requirements to maintain your specialization. It's more of a kind of standard disclaimer than anything else. I mean, I just want to make clear that all the steps we're taking are essentially we're trying to help people out, but in the end, it's on them.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty important. I think that's a pretty important thing for us to communicate.
Can we also add where you're typing, also a reminder to check the State Bar personal account for notices, so that people can be reminded that there is also that resource and there may be notifications there. And it can just be a quick, also check your, I forget what you guys called it, a State Bar account for any notifications.
Their Ames portal.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
Does this look right?
So the third part here is unclear. I mean, I think this is the most critical part. I mean, you can put information on the website, but nobody is going to see it. The people who would see it are the people who have already complied. Those are the people that go to the website and look for those kinds of information. So from my point of view, I think the third part is the most critical part, which is that we develop an outreach system that actually reaches the people who have let it slip, so that we can try to conserve those specialists and make sure that they're aware that the timeline has come or is coming. So we want to add an email that goes out through the board members versus that the staff prepares, but the board members send, and a physical mailing before final revocation. And a physical mailing earlier in the process, because I understand we send a physical mailing right before the revocation occurs, correct?
Correct, but we'll be changing that process. We'll add this. We're going to add this step internally.
And I think Natalie's right that it's kind of a self-selecting group, like the people that see hey, look at Ames and stuff, like putting it on the website. It's like, if people are going on the website, they're already going to know that. But I'm fine with that being redundant. I'm fine with that also being on the website, right? I mean, it's probably.
Oh, I agree. I don't have a problem with having it there. I just don't think it's reaching the people that we're trying to reach.
It's not enough. Sure. Okay. All right. So has everybody had kind of a chance to? I mean, we're all kind of perusing this for any kind of ideas that we'd want to put in. Does anybody else have something that they'd want to add to this, to our new kind of action item here?
think that pretty much covers it. I like it how it's presented now.
Right. Okay. All right. So as drafted on our screens, and as we can see behind the window where Adrian's messing with right now. So do I have a motion? Does anybody move to approve of the items as are listed on the screen and as we've been discussing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Adrian, could you help us take in the roll?
Costa,
Yes.
Hammersmith,
Aye.
Christensen,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Torre,
Aye.
Vance.
Yes.
That's enough votes. The motion passes.
All right. Okay. Let's all right, so like I believe we've finished item C. We you know, we just approved item C 1.5, I guess. I mean, or however we want to classify that. And that's as to all of the revocations that we're dealing with today. So with that, we'd go to section no, that was D, I'm sorry. So now we move on to section E, which is the revocations for failure to pay the legal specialization fee. And with that, we'd go to Adrian.
Sure. And I can leave this up to you, but I don't know if it seems that it may be best that if I can provide the information to present both items, and then we could take a vote on kind of both of them at the same time, or would you?
On EF?
Yeah, or would you prefer?
Yeah, I think you're going to get the same reaction.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me just first start with item E, approval of annual certification revocations for failure to pay the 2020 Legal Specialization Program annual fee. Just a quick reminder, the Legal Specialization Program is entirely self-funded. Specialists are required to pay the legal specialization annual fee every year, due at the same time as their general license fees. These fees were originally due on February 1st, but this has been extended to September 30th as a result of COVID-19. Reminders have been sent. We currently have 67 specialists that have a balance towards this fee. It would be consistent with past action to send a final notice. And just for comparison, in 2019, we provided 52 names that were recommended, and then in 2018, there were 31. If approved, staff would send a paper and electronic notice through the State Bar's email service. Is it okay to jump into item F right now, or do you guys have any questions regarding E?
Although
I
you
think we
still
can
have
sum up
D
F.
up is in the box. You probably mean to go
Yeah,
to the
D,
next
yeah,
one.
we're on to the next one.
Oops, sorry. All right, so for item F, approval of annual certification revocations for failure to report the Group 3 2020 Legal Specialist Continuing Legal Education Compliance. I'll go ahead and take this item as well, sorry. Specialists are required to report compliance of 36 hours of LSCLE in the specialty area every 3 years, due at the same time as the general MCLE compliance. For this year, this was originally due on February 1st, but this has also been extended to September 30th as a result of COVID-19. The table on the agenda provides a breakdown of those specialists by specialty area. The attachment lists those specific specialists and individuals. Reminders have been sent. As of February 1st, there are 544 specialists that were pending 2020 compliance. In comparison, in 2019, there were 107 that were recommended. And then in 2018, there were 37. If approved, this would be consistent with past action to send a final notice. And we would send a paper and electronic notice. Any questions on item E or F or further discussion? Sorry.
Okay, and again, and I think we can. I will just consolidate the vote on this on both of these. And again, this is to if an I vote would be to revoke these specializations, which we have on previous items voted nay on, just to remind folks. So I would ask for, do we have, does someone move to vote on the motion to revoke these specializations?
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, second. All right, Adrian, could you please take the roll for us?
Of course. And I apologize. Who said the second?
I did.
Norma.
Oh, it's Norma.
Norma.
All right. Acosta?
No.
Hammerschmidt? Hammerschmidt?
You're on mute, Jeff.
Yes.
Christensen?
I'm going to pause again. Now I want to make sure I'm clear. A yes vote is to revoke and a no vote.
A no vote is to not revoke, is to not pass this.
The motion would be lost. Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm changing mine to no.
That was Hammerschmidt?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Christensen?
so I'm a no.
Lester?
No.
Levy?
No.
Torre?
No.
And Vance?
No.
The motion is lost.
And that is to both E and F. Just to.
That was for E and F, correct.
Okay, I believe those are the last two items we have on the open session. So we're going to be moving to closed session. Real quick, just to remind everybody, you're going to log out of this meeting. You're going to log into the new one that I think Adrian has either recently sent or is about to send. Okay, and we will return and for closed session, but right now we'll.
But before you close, if I can, because really it's your last public session as on the board and as the chair this year. So I wanted to thank you from me in the past 3 years of getting to know you, and on behalf of the board, and I know other people as well, for your commitment and your involvement with the board and your leadership here. So I wanted to say that in the open public session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It has been an honor and a privilege to serve with you, Roy.
That's well, I appreciate it. I mean, your standards are low enough to actually to actually value my input, which is always which is nice. But I appreciate it. Really, I'm going to be the one that misses. Everyone will probably chat a little bit more in the closed session. But this is
thank you for your service.
It's been, thank you so much. It really has been an honor, and I'm onward and upward for the bar, and it's been an honor for me, and I wish the best of luck to everybody. So thank you for that. And with that, we would end this open session meeting.
And just a reminder, Aurelia, so technically we do need to come back to open session to inform the public that closed has ended, and just a quorum of members need to technically come back into open to close the meeting then.
For the sole purpose of closing the meeting, sure.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so we would do that after the closed session. We'd go into open session for about 5 seconds.
Exactly.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'll see you folks in what, 2 minutes?
Do you want to take a break before we rejoin, or?
Yeah, do folks just want to rejoin it's going to be a very short session, I think. Do folks just want to rejoin at noon?
That probably makes sense. That gives us a quick break.
Works for folks? Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Folks.
than the other ones.
There you go. I've restarted the recording earlier.
Okay. We are back in open session. We have ended the closed session of today's CBLS meeting, and we're back in open. And with that, I would call this meeting adjourned.
Woo-woo.
Right, folks.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care, folks. Sayonara.
Ah.